And we're back with more Talking Law TV, and I have the pleasure of having Wendy Williamson here, who's the Executive Director of the Mediation Center. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
And I had the pleasure of taking your course in the first part of this year. And as I said on Beverly Hillbillies, I is now a graduate.
You are a graduate, and it was a lot of fun.
It's hilarious, the things that you go through and the things that you learn in the mediation process. Let me put your name up here real fast so people know who you are and how to get a hold of you. How did mediation begin?
I think mediation began as a response from lawyers and judges, as a response to the results we were seeing in litigation. That we were seeing expenses elevate, the time people were in litigation became too long, and the emotional cost was too great. There needed to be an alternative that began to put back to the folks in a dispute the solution as a first round before the public resources were used, and they took on all the costs that come with litigation.
Okay, and a lot of judges are sending cases to you first.
In civil and domestic cases in Superior Court, they are required to go through mediation now, and that is a trend across the nation. In state court, magistrate court, probate court, some cases are sent as a matter of routine. And so they don't have an order mandating it, but most cases do come through mediation.
Okay. And what percentage of the cases do you settle when they're brought to mediation?
When they get through mediation, 60% plus a little bit have been settling for years. And
then more settle before they get to court when they realize the expense involved?
Yes.
So maybe altogether, as a result of mediation?
If I had to guess, 95% of cases settle before they go to trial.
And those other 5% just didn't get it?
They go to trial.
Or they want to put their fate in a stranger's hands.
There are certain cases that need to go to trial.
Yeah. And you would think, though, that you wouldn't actually want to put your fate in 12 people you've never heard of in your life versus
you certainly wouldn't want to do that as a family. No. And that, to me, is the domestic cases where we have families involved. I think mediation is the best place to settle those because you develop systems within your family that can work for your family versus a judge imposing upon your family something that may not fit.
Okay. Real quickly, we're going to go through the 4 main tenets of mediation, and our first one we have on our screen is confidentiality. Yes. And it's confidential, so can you talk about that?
Well, if you go to court, whatever you file in court and whatever you say in court and whatever happens in court is a matter of public record. And that has its own weight. If you know that the world out there will have access to everything that you're saying, it shapes how you say it and what you say. So in mediation, you know you can relax and get to know the mediator and trust that what you're saying will be held in confidence and not made public.
Okay, and our second tenet is voluntary.
Yes. Let me say that you may be ordered to mediation, but you're not ordered to enter into an agreement. So what's voluntary about mediation is deciding to agree on a solution. So those 60% are people that have chosen to settle their cases.
Okay. And then the next part is a settlement negotiation.
Well, if you're in litigation, you have a different mindset than you do if you're in a settlement negotiation. If you're in a win-lose situation like litigation, you need to win not only by proving your case, but by disproving the other case. And if you think about that in any case, probate, domestic, and even magistrate court cases where families are involved, that means you have to prove the other person is a bad guy and that you're a good guy. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of damage in that process.
Yeah, it's almost like wrestling versus boxing. In wrestling, you just want to pin them down.
Yes.
In boxing, you want to knock them out.
Right. I mean, you should have, in mediation, you should have something in common, and you have a common goal. In litigation, you don't. Okay,
and our last tenet's an informality.
When we have people come into mediation, we often notice that they're shaking. We've seen a lot of physical ramifications of anxiety, and within about 15 minutes of mediation, they're relaxed, and they're able to be themselves, and they understand that they're in an environment where they count and where they can talk, because in other legal situations, their lawyer will speak for them, or they're not able to talk about what's really important to them because it's not under, it's not appropriate under the rules of evidence. In mediation, what's important to you is what you get to talk about, and nobody's going to criticize you based on your grammar or your legal training. it's your life.
And there's no judge, no bailiff,
No judge, no
guns.
bailiff. Right.
Hopefully, no guns.
No, we have a real comfortable environment.
So people come in, hopefully, with the expectation of reaching an accord somewhere.
Well, I hope they do, and if they don't, by the end of the opening statement by the mediator, I hope that they understand that's what we're doing.
Okay, we have a little diagram here of basically a mediation process, and I think it's apropos because it really illustrates the dialogue, and once you go through the training, you understand that, you know, what I found exciting was that as a mediator, your opinion doesn't really matter.
Right.
And you're
Which
just
is
there.
hard for Americans,
it's
by
hard,
the way.
It was hard for me, I'll tell you that.
It is hard for Americans. We're very opinionated.
That you want to share ideas, but it's really up to those two people to figure it out.
Right.
And you're just a referee.
That's why in our training we spend a lot of time training on neutrality, and everybody will come in saying I'm really good at neutrality, but the truth of the matter is that they haven't really been trained in neutrality.
Because everybody has ideas.
Well, we're all expressing our opinions all day.
Yeah, and then you just come in, and we have that little sort of illustration, we set at a table, and you sort of work it all out, and hopefully at the end of the deal, you get to shake hands and leave, not necessarily, as we talked about in training, you don't leave friends, but you hate everybody equally.
I think that's right. Everybody's equally happy and equally unhappy.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Wendy, for being here. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show on Talking Law TV. Remember, you can see our website online at talkinglawtv.com and on your smartphone at mtalkinglawtv.com. We'll see you again next week right here on WSAV. Bye-bye.